Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that is incredibly universal, yet deeply, deeply personal. Have you ever experienced a connection so profound, so intensely real, but it just didn't last forever? Well, that's exactly what we're unpacking today. Through the story of two people, Ethan and Emma, we're going to explore the anatomy of a beautiful but fleeting romantic connection. Let's get right into it.
There's this saying, sometimes certain people enter our lives like a beautiful dream. And honestly, just like a dream, you wake up one day and they're gone. This quote perfectly captures the core theme of our explainer today. We're looking at a relationship that kicked off like an absolute fairy tale, but eventually collided with a heartbreaking reality. We're going to break down this emotional roller coaster so we can better understand why these brief connections leave such a permanent mark on us.
All right, let's start with phase one, the spark of connection. This is when the ordinary meets the extraordinary. Picture this. Ethan's just an everyday guy working at a small-town coffee shop. His life is, well, pretty predictable. But the scene is perfectly primed for a life-altering disruption. Dark clouds fill the sky on a rainy afternoon. The bell on the door chimes. In walks a young woman named Emma. It's her classic meet-cute, right? With her bright smile and the way she carried herself, Ethan suddenly felt as if a literal dream had just sprung to life right there in the middle of his totally ordinary Tuesday.
So how exactly does a random encounter snowball into a profound bond? Well, Emma starts dropping by the shop every single day, and a really natural progression takes hold. It kicks off with a simple greeting, you know how it goes. That turns into a few casual chats, and before they know it, they're talking for hours. They go from passing strangers to absolute best friends, walking the beach, spilling their biggest life goals. Ethan is already falling hard, but he's terrified. He's so scared she only sees him as just a friend.
Then comes this massive turning point. It's a moonlit night by the ocean, and Emma turns to him and says, "If life were a dream, I would want this moment to last forever." Talk about unspoken feelings reaching a boiling point. Ethan smiles on the outside, but internally he's just thinking, if only you knew, you are my dream. It sets the stage perfectly for the next big step in their dynamic.
Which brings us to phase two, Confessions Under the Moon, the absolute peak of romance. Now we hit the most emotionally charged part of the whole journey, the moment those hidden feelings have to come out. A few weeks after that beach trip, Ethan takes the leap. Hands literally trembling, holding a bouquet of flowers, he just puts it all out there. "Emma, I love you." You can almost feel the suspense. It's that agonizing, terrifying stretch of silence where the entire relationship just hangs completely in the balance.
In that split second of silence, two totally different realities are clashing. In Ethan's head, it's pure panic, this paralyzing fear that she's going to hit him with the "let's just be friends" line. But Emma's reality? Her eyes well up with tears, and she reciprocates, saying, "I love you too." For Ethan, this is it. It's the absolute peak of their shared dream. The connection is validated. The dream is real.
But then we hit phase three, the challenge of distance. This is when external forces intervene. Up to this point, they've been living in this perfect little bubble. But fate has a funny way of stepping in. Emma drops the bombshell that her family is moving thousands of miles away to another city. Just like that, Ethan's perfect world screeches to a sudden halt. Now they promise each other that this massive distance won't change a thing. But, as we're about to see, physical distance almost always creates an incredibly difficult emotional distance.
At first, they put up a really good fight. Day one is exactly what you'd expect. Daily video calls, constant texting, late-night talks. But look at the trend as the weeks pass. Emma gets swept up in her new life, and the messages start getting shorter. The calls drop off. And fast forward a few months, we find Ethan just sitting there, waiting by the phone, hoping she'll call. It's a slow, painful fade. The promises are slipping away, and their connection is really starting to fray.
Which leads us directly into phase four, a heartbreaking reality, the sudden halt.
That slow fade inevitably brings us to the visceral pain of two people who are fundamentally growing apart. The tipping point arrives in a single text message. "We need to talk." Yep, it's the four words literally anyone in love dreads the most. It is the official warning sign that the romantic dream is about to shatter.
Emma finally tells him that she thinks they should go their separate ways. The psychological blow to Ethan is so massive that it actually hits him physically. His hands literally begin to shake. It genuinely feels like his entire world is just shattered into a million pieces. The dream is officially over. 5 years passed. Let's just pause and let that sit for a second. Half a decade. This represents the long, quiet grind of time and that slow, totally necessary healing process. Because life doesn't just pause when a relationship ends, right? Time forces us to keep moving forward, whether we want to or not.
During those 5 years, Ethan actually builds a super successful life for himself. On the outside, he's crushing it. Great job, beautiful home, completely stable. But his inner world is a completely different story. Emma's memory is still living vividly in his heart. And it highlights this really profound human truth. Outward success absolutely does not erase the internal longing for a love you lost.
And that brings us to Phase 5, the final reunion, acceptance, and the passage of time. So one day, completely out of the blue, Ethan is visiting a bookstore and spots Emma standing right there. They end up grabbing a table at a small cafe. But the vibe? Totally different from that first coffee shop where they met. Emma looks different now. She's more mature, and you can tell she's just noticeably more distant. For a long time, neither of them even says a word. It's just a long, heavy silence. Time has visibly changed them both from the starry-eyed dreamers they used to be.
Finally, Emma breaks the ice. She looks at him and softly says, "You know, I never forgot you." And as tears start welling up in Ethan's eyes, she tells him, "You were the most beautiful dream of my life." This moment is just massive for closure. It validates that what they had was real and incredibly deeply felt, even if it had to end before it could become a permanent reality. They had both moved on, sure, but the impact of that connection remained completely untouched.
So what's the big takeaway from Ethan and Emma's story? Well, it perfectly defines what we call a fleeting love. It's a connection that isn't meant to last forever, but instead, it teaches us the true meaning of loving someone. Sometimes, people don't enter our lives to stay. Some dreams never fully come true, but they live on in our hearts for good. Their real purpose is to teach us, to mold us, and to show us just how deeply we are capable of caring for another human being.
Which leaves us with a question for you to really reflect on today. Who was the beautiful dream in your life that taught you how to love? Think about that person, the lessons they brought into your life, and how that fleeting connection helped shape exactly who you are today. If you've ever loved someone with everything you have, you know exactly what Ethan and Emma went through. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep growing, and always keep cherishing those beautiful dreams.